Chapter 1, Cretaceous Period, 66 million years BCE. The alarm was not a sound. It was a violation. A silent psychic shriek that bypassed the ears and tore directly through the minds of the Uset. 112 souls aboard the temporal vessel Kronos. On the bridge, xenobotanist Alara gripped the polished chrome of her console, knuckles white. The serene star charts on her display had been replaced by a single flashing crimson rune. Temporal shear event, catastrophic cascade imminent. Outside the panoramic view screen, the fabric of space-time was no longer a smooth black velvet. It was a churning, boiling sea of impossible colors and fractured light. Status. Captain Heston's voice was a rock in the torrent of chaos. The chronoton regulators are offline. The primary manifold it's gone, Captain. It's just gone. The chief engineer's voice, tinny over the cum, was laced with terror. The vortex is collapsing on us. Alara watched, mesmerized and horrified, as a future they had just left to clean. Orderly, magnificent, future splintered into a million shards on the view screen. Their mission had been the pinnacle of human achievement, a journey to the dawn of their own prehistory. They were observers. Ghosts in the machine of time meant to leave no trace, but something had gone wrong. A violent lurch threw Alara against her console. The smell of ozone and burnt electronics filled the air. The ship groaned, the sound of a dying leviathan. Through the chaos, Alara saw the captain wrestling with a manual helm, his face a mask of grim determination. It was no use. They were falling, not through space, but through time itself, tumbling end over end through millennia. The view screen was a nauseating smear of green and brown. The final impact was not a crash, it was an ending. A brutal, definitive punctuation mark of tearing metal and shattering bone. Then silence. A profound silence broken only by the drip of hydraulic fluid. Part 3, it took them an hour to force open the main hatch. When it finally gave way, the air that rushed in was thick, heavy, and wet, smelling of damp earth and colossal blossoms. Alara was the first one to step onto the soil of the Cretaceous. The ground was soft and spongy. Towering ferns formed a dense canopy that blotted out the sun. The air was alive with the chittering of insects the size of her hand and the distant, guttural bellows of creatures that haunted the nightmares of a species not yet born. Their ship was a broken metal scar in a world of impossible green. The temporal drive, their only way home, was a mangled, smoking ruin, fused into the rock of a cliff face. Captain Heston stood beside her, his uniform torn, his face smeared with grime, surveyed the wreckage, then the hostile, magnificent wilderness. The hope in his eyes was a fading ember. "Salvage what you can," he ordered, his voice hollow. "Rations, medical supplies, tools. We're not travelers anymore." Part 4. Generations passed, though the ship became a tomb, then a myth, then scattered dust reclaimed by the jungle. The start charts in their minds were replaced by the maps of hunting grounds and safe riverbeds. The complex language of quantum physics was forgotten, replaced by grunts and calls to warn of predators. They taught their children of a home in the sky, a story that warped until it was just a legend of gods who fell from the heavens. Their advanced knowledge rusted away. Stranded, they had no choice but to adapt. They struggled, they survived, and they became the first humans. Part 5. White Sands, New Mexico. July 8, 1947, the air didn't just crackle with tension. It was thick enough to suffocate. The specialists gathered at the base of the rocket. It wasn't a rocket, not really. It was a monstrosity. A brute force marriage of captured German engineering, Einsteinian theory, and something else. The Phoenix, as it had been christened, stood silhouetted against the indigo sky. Its hull was a patchwork of riveted steel and a strange, seamless alloy that seemed to swallow the light. Captain Eva Rostova completed her final walk-around. She ran a gloved hand over a section of the alien hull. It was cool to the touch, unnervingly so. The weight of the mission, of the 20 lives inside, and the secrets of history itself settled on her shoulders. She ascended the gantry and entered the cramped cockpit. The smell of ozone and hot wiring was already palpable. Part 6 Final Systems Check. "Captain," crackled a voice in her ear. Miller, the lead engineer. All green on my board, Miller, Eva said, her eyes scanning the array of dials and gauges, a bizarre mix of standard military hardware and glowing, incomprehensible glyphs, reverse-engineered from the Roswell crash. Dr. Thorne, are you quite finished admiring your handiwork? Ava's voice cut through the hum. Some of us would like to depart this century. Dr. Eris Thorne didn't look away from the swirling vortex of shimmering energy that hovered 100 yards in front of the Phoenix, contained temporal distortion. Patience, Captain, Eris said, a manic grin touching his lips. Perfection cannot be rushed. And this is a beautiful, glorious wound in time. It's an unstable anomaly, Miller muttered. The energy fluctuations are 20% above my projections. Your projections were timid, Miller Eris shot back. The recovered Roswell tech compensated for the energy drift. It's magnificent. Part 7. Eva ignored their bickering. She saw the other members of the handpicked team strapped into their seats. Sergeant Cole, the security chief. Dr. Lena Hansen, the team's medic and biologist, her eyes wide as she stared at the vortex. Each understood they were on a one-way trip. A shot in the dark to unravel the mystery of Final pre-flight clearance granted, came the voice from control. On your mark, Captain. Eva took a breath. Phoenix is a go. Diddy. Initiating lift. The ship shuddered violently. The gravitic stabilizers are wonky, Miller shouted. The ship lurched sickeningly. Her hands flew across the console, manually rerouting power. Come on, you beast, she whispered. With a final bone-jarring shudder, the Phoenix lifted. Hover established, Eva announced. Reese, it's all yours. Forward thrusters, Captain. Take us into the storm, the engines roared. The Phoenix surged forward and plunged into the shimmering curtain. The world dissolved into an unbearable, silent whiteness. Then the vortex swallowed them whole. Part 8. The desert was silent again. The space where the Phoenix had been was now just empty air. But the silence lasted only a moment. A new vortex, smaller and far more violent, ripped into existence nearby. It spat out a vessel, a sleek silver ship that looked like a polished teardrop. It was clearly damaged, trailing smoke and sparks from a gash in its side. It wasn't a controlled emergence. It was a desperate, final expulsion. The silver ship spiraled, its engine sputtering, and crashed into the desert floor, less than a mile from the abandoned launch gantry. The impact was immense, a fiery explosion that sent a mushroom cloud of sand and black smoke billowing into the sky. For a long minute there was nothing but the crackle of burning metal. Then a hatch on the wrecked ship hissed open. A single figure in a strange, form-fitting suit stumbled out. The suit was made of a material that seemed to drink the light. The helmet's visor was cracked, revealing a sliver of a pale, terrified face within. Part 9. The figure staggered, falling to his knees in the hot sand. He looked up at the sky, at the faint, fading scar where the Phoenix had disappeared moments before. He fumbled with a device on his wrist, and a voice, distorted by heavy static and laced with an agony of desperation, burst from his helmet speaker. Cannot make the return, Chronos Protocol. A lie, he gasped, his words ragged. You can't go forward, don't you understand? He coughed, a racking sound. Time only flows one way. You can't go back to the future. His desperate warning was for a crew that was already gone, lost to the past. His own ship, damaged by the impossible journey from the year 2025, couldn't make the return trip. He was stranded, collapsed face down in the sand, the static from his comms hissing into the quiet desert morning. This was the real Roswell incident. Part 10. Within minutes, the distant rumble of engines grew louder. A convoy of army jeeps kicked up plumes of dust as they converged on the crash site. A high-ranking officer, a general with cold, calculating eyes, was the first to arrive. He took in the scene, the impossible futuristic wreckage, the fiery crater, and the lone figure. His subordinate, a young major, stared in stunned silence. General, what is it? The general's gaze was hard. He looked from the wreckage to the faint disturbance in the sky from the Phoenix's launch. He now held two pieces of an impossible puzzle. The man from the future had just delivered a terrifying truth. The public could never know. Major, the general said, his voice low and firm, quarantine a 50-mile radius. This site is to be scrubbed from every record. This wreckage, the body, loaded up. We're taking it to the test site in Nevada. The new one, sir.
As of this moment,
The general declared.
this never happened. What fell here today was a weather balloon. Is that understood?
The major nodded stiffly. Yes, sir. A weather balloon. The general looked back at the sky. He now knew time travel to the past was real, but the future was a closed door. And he had just approved a mission sending 20 of his best into a history they could never, ever return from.